Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to get underway.
No.
All right, everyone. Welcome to Coming of Age.
Welcome.
These are the Legion Minisodes. We are on chapter 16.
Is that episode 8 of this season?
Yes, I think there's 3 more. Yeah.
Oh, man.
3 more. Got that extra episode added, baby.
Yeah, baby.
Don't know why. Still wondering about what's going on with that.
Really just hoping there was so much they needed to get into the finale. They were like, let's just do another episode.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah.
But we are the voices in your head. This is Chase Cummins.
And that is Alan Loosebrock.
Yes, indeed.
Welcome back to the old format.
Hey, we made it back. We're not mind fucked by this episode. I feel like the episodes that really mind fucked me, the intro I fucked. I meant to do it one week, but
that's funny.
Like this episode, I'm just so happy it's easily digestible, but I'm still excited and I still have questions. So love that.
I'm still excited. I still have questions. I'm starting to notice that I can follow what's happening like better and better as each episode goes on. So that's nice.
Yeah, you can start paying attention to other things, kind of.
Yeah, you're like, okay, I think I figured out what's happening in this scene. Oh, yes.
It's good. The episode starts off in the desert, and then what text comes up on the screen says, to create fear, hold up a mirror.
Yeah. And it actually attributed the quote to somebody. I'm not sure if it was a real person or not. But
it was a crazy name. I don't know. It was probably a real person.
It sounded like a monk of some kind.
Yeah, that was true.
Like,
yeah. So. But that just made me think of doing acid. Because you always think of, I have heard, I think a lot of people have, like, just like the common thing, like, don't look in the mirror when you're on drugs, man. Like, but like every time I've taken acid, I have specifically looked in the mirror.
I love looking in the mirror.
And I've always had such a good time doing it.
Yeah, I love it. There's a moment when I'm looking in the mirror and I'm like distracted by different features on my face or like on my skin or something. You know, I mean, you notice little details that you don't normally notice. Yeah. And it's probably because, and it's always the last thing I notice anyways, your fucking pupils are wider than they've ever been in your entire life. And it's like, of course you're noticing all these weird little details because there's more light pouring into your eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you're in front of the glamorous lights of the fucking mirror.
You're always glowing just a little bit. And you're like, oh, and then you're like, oh, that's why I look like a fucking alien.
Stale fucking like bathroom, it's like a hospital.
You look around and you're like, oh god, is this safe?
It's just a pile of pubes over there. This is disgusting.
Why did I choose to live with 5 other men?
Oh god.
God.
But what this is saying obviously is, looking into yourself probably is going to create a little fear within this context of the show. It's a very fearful kind of.
Well, it's saying if you truly want to like be afraid, look inside yourself and see who you really are. Mm-hmm. Is pretty. I think what the metaphor is saying. Yeah. Because like we're all capable of terrible shit. Yeah. Or
Yeah, and it's pretty much attributing that to David. Well, it could be attributed to a lot of people, for sure, in this, especially Melanie in this episode.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck's going on.
I don't know what's going on with her.
I think it kind of relates too with the whole John Hamm sequence at the end of this episode, which felt very pointed and poignant. But the way he's describing narcissism, or just the act of only thinking you're the one who matters in the world, and then comparing that to like the modern age through digital technology and social media and stuff, and how like it's dissociative in the sense that like other people start to seem like they're not actually there, and they're just like the shadows on the wall.
Yeah, like you're living inside of a cave, and the shadows on the wall. That's not the real world, right?
Yeah, that's not the real world. But if you,
and then
but it's real to you.
Yeah.
And then when you finally see the real world, you can't comprehend it.
Yeah,
you
it's
refuse
incomprehensible,
to
and you
it.
refuse
Yeah.
it.
And I feel like that's kind of like what that quote is saying. Like, you really want to find fear, you hold yourself up to your mirror, a mirror up to yourself, and really take a look at who you are. And then you are going to see yourself. If you start to see yourself for who you really are, you won't be able to like accept it necessarily, and you become afraid. So I feel like there's a connection there between like at least the theme of this episode.
Yeah, for sure. That's scary.
Yeah, it's
that whole sequence was so fucking real, and also kind of plays with the idea of us living in almost like, at least it's just something that's been popping up in my mind more and more, just living in a simulation.
Yeah.
Like us just becoming a simulation because the internet fucking exists. Like now we're all simulated. Like, but I don't know. It's so fucking creepy and interesting. Like how real that shit got.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And it makes me look back at all the other times they've done this, and just about every other episode that John Hamm has these lessons in, and they all are making points that relate to this, like this modern malaise
through modern life.
Yeah. Like it always relates it back to modern life.
Some of them are a little more like fictionalized and kind of crazy, like the one with the spasm, where like everyone's just like spreading the spasm. It's just using that spasm as a
but it's a metaphor for panic.
Exactly
Yeah, and fear. Yeah.
But this one was just, I'm just saying that this one was just like
directly,
boom, straightforward, like yo.
Yeah, it's not even necessarily, it's not even really a metaphor. He starts with a metaphor, then explains the metaphor, and the entire time they're showing it to you in the context of.
Yours up, yep, I know it. Yeah, we all know it, and we still do it.
I see this every day. Oh my God, that was me earlier today, pacing around on my cell phone.
Yeah. That was me during the commercial break right after that. I'm just kidding. I didn't do it.
It was me in the middle of the commercial break on the couch.
Okay, so anyway, after that text, we go to David and Sid talking like about Farouk's body and where to find it, kind of arguing a little bit. They do a bit of arguing in this episode.
But yeah, they bicker a bit.
Yeah, not seeing eye to eye.
I think Sid has some genuine and valid frustrations with the way David communicates with her. And,
yeah, absolutely.
I think she has, at least this version of Sid, has a pretty fucking clear understanding of what has to happen for tragedy not like to befall the world. It seems to me like she has kind of an understanding of what's actually helpful.
And David's always a little like, he's just kind of a step behind with what actually needs to be done, and he doesn't actually want to accept what needs to be done either. He just kind of wants to live in his own bubble.
He becomes emotional, I think. And I think now that he's free of Farouk this whole season, and he doesn't have that like part of him that's been kind of driving him crazy his entire life, and he's been told that he's actually not crazy. He's starting to like actually explore himself. And he's kind of has like the restraint of a child when it comes to his emotional like side. And so like this whole season, like he believes the first thing everybody says to him. So he believes the Sid in the bulb at the beginning. Then when he starts working with Farouk, he believes everything Farouk says. Then when Farouk betrays him, he becomes super like aggressive about it, and then starts to reject everything, all the rational thoughts around him. And like, I don't know, I feel like we're kind of seeing like, we're going to have to see David like mature a bit before he really like comes into his own.
He kind of was given all of these options and was trying to figure out which one to pick, and then was just like, fuck this, I'm gonna go fucking destroy Farouk's body.
Yeah,
because he's the fucking threat, and he's the immediate threat.
And he's only a threat because he antagonized me personally.
Yeah.
So it is like, now that we're talking about it like that, it is very much so him ignoring everybody else around him as if they don't exist, and he's the only one who exists. So he's like, I think that is about David and about David's state of mind, and possibly all of these are. All of those John Hamm things were truly about like what's going on in David.
Yeah.
Which means that, and they're all about different versions or kinds of mental illness, which means that David is very susceptible and still struggling with mental illness, which I think is ultimately like part of the thesis of this show, is like how someone who's mentally ill sees the world, and how like how they can truly try and recover, and like how difficult that is, which is kind of an interesting way to look at the show.
Yeah.
Like the struggle of like recovering from mental illness, and then when you see especially when you see the world so fucking crazy.
Yeah, and having to save it.
Once you raise the stakes, it becomes really crazy.
But okay, so they're like arguing about that, and then Autonomy, you see him, he's like watching them.
Yeah.
Almost. He's like in the tree matrix.
He's in the mainframe.
Yeah, he's in the mainframe.
The tree matrix.
He is in the tree matrix.
That's exactly what he's in. It's the fucking tree matrix.
It's the natural matrix of the world. And you see like a faceless person next to him, and he's like, Admiral?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's like the Admiral like grabs him. Or we assume it's the Admiral just because he said that.
I assume because of what happens next.
Yeah, well, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely that. And then you're like flipping through all these screens, and you're kind of in Admiral Fukuyama's head, and he's showing. Well, he's reading his memories. Obviously, Autonomy is inside of his memories, and he's. Admiral Fukuyama is a young boy in college, like reading Sigmund Freud. And I don't know if the person is a professor or someone who just found out about him and his mutant abilities.
I don't know, because, so this is what I thought initially. When he was like, I used to go to this school many years ago when the world was, I wouldn't say, I forget the term he used. Basically, he was saying like when the world was like less complicated, but it wasn't really, but like it seemed like it. Mm-hmm. I thought that it was the Professor X's academy that he was at for a second.
Oh, really?
And I was like, but then that character goes on to talk about how the mutants are a threat, and those like vague terms that all the X-Men movies use, where it's like people can read our minds and they're going to, there's an illness amongst mankind and stuff. And I was like, okay, so I guess he wasn't it.
He's talking about like telepaths and like how important they are, and like how it's like, well, they can read our minds. Now it's important to keep secrets.
They're a weapon and they're dangerous and all this stuff. And
he wants to create a mind that can't be read, and because he has like a healing factor, kind of like Wolverine, they can experiment on him, and whatever they did to him,
turn him into something that can't be that telepaths can't like penetrate,
probe into.
And that he's going to be their secret weapon against them. Mm-hmm. So I mean, that's like a classic X-Men kind of plot. Like,
that's like a huge thing in X-Men.
That's what it is. Yeah.
That's Wolverine.
Yeah, it's Wolverine, and that's every villain that the X-Men come against is the xenophobia for mutants. Mm-hmm. And like it's all these humans anticipating these
and experimentation and everything.
And exploiting their powers when they can, and to fight the ones who have powers that they can't exploit, and all this kind of stuff. So it's definitely in line with X-Men, but I don't know like who he was supposed to be.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it matters or
I don't think it does.
Yeah.
But I briefly thought for a second they were referencing like this kid was at like Xavier's Academy, or at like what would become Xavier's Academy or something. Which is funny because it ended up not being that, because we did get a professor reference.
Yeah. So So before that happens, it's Admiral Fukuyama, young Admiral Fukuyama, is in the hospital bed.
Yeah.
And the old nurse that we saw from the last episode is reading to him.
Mm-hmm. And it's like
very interesting. And then
it's like almost as if she's part of his memory in that sequence that we saw tonight, but like she's still with him because he's like brought her inside of him, because apparently that's what's going on. So like that's something that can happen.
Yeah.
It's almost like he keeps her with him because it's like comforting.
Mm-hmm.
Like
yeah,
it's this little boy, like keeping, I don't know if it's his grandmother
going
or
through a
grandmother
traumatic
figure.
experience and keeping something that soothed him through that experience.
Exactly,
with
yeah.
him. Yeah. Perhaps.
I mean, that's what I thought.
That's what,
of.
yeah. I actually didn't think that, but that makes very much sense. I was like, what's going on here? Hey, that's that girl. But then we flash back to Tanami, and there's a fuse like sparking and stuff, and it starts pulling out and like dragging away, and he's following it, and he follows it to the monk, who's like still there and has a dial-up connection coming out of his mouth.
Yeah, acting like a fucking dial-up demon in the corner of the ceiling.
And he's just like, you're still here? Like, you're here now? What the fuck?
Did you, he's like, he was like, did they put you in here as well? Like, how'd you get in here? And the monk's just being crazy. Or whatever the fucking sound he was making.
Yeah, he makes that, and then they flash like the skeleton in the desert at that point too.
It's when he reveals to Patanami
where the body is.
Yeah. And I guess he's like hijacked Admiral Fukuyama, or like he's not supposed to be in there. Which is interesting to me, and I'm wondering if that's going to come into play later, that the monk is still like kind of in play and he has control of at least some of the Vermilion, because it seems like he was like manipulating.
Yeah.
Especially after the way
plugged in.
Yeah, and especially after the way Patanami took control of one of them.
Well, like that's like what he did when he was in Division 3, kind of invading there. Like he was doing the same thing. He was up in the corner looking like Spider-Man, all hooked up to Fukuyama and shit, and they were all like, I don't know, everyone's glitching out and shit. So
yeah. Oh, I forgot about that.
That may have been his way in before he killed himself, you know?
That may have been when he at least snuck part of his like mind in.
Yeah, he downloaded his freaking hard drive. But then that's when Tanami like hacks the Vermilion, that one Vermilion, and goes to speak to David.
Which is a fantastic sequence.
It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, fantastic.
Oh, I love it so much. I love the Vermilion so much.
They're super interesting to me. They are something I never thought I would ever see. I mean, that's like a very unique character. But I love the people they cast for.
I didn't think they'd be a part of the series for so long either. Legion's very hard to predict, obviously.
Like who comes
but like
and
it
goes.
seemed like something that was kind of gonna like just be a part of the first half of the season, and then like they were gonna move on to something else. I don't know, because there was a couple episodes obviously where they do move away from that.
Yeah.
But then you're like, oh, you know, we're still doing this.
Yeah. I
And
mean, they haven't
yes.
dropped a single character yet.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they dropped that many in the first season, honestly.
No.
Like when you think about it, but they always make you feel like they could and they will at some point. And I mean, obviously we lost the Eye, who I think was a really...
That was at the end, though.
It was the very end, and he was a good villain in the first season, and it was an appropriate place to kill him.
And then also the guy who got shot, who's like in the closet as well. I can't even remember his name.
But he seemed more important in the first season, and then obviously he died, and obviously isn't important at all. We didn't even remember. I don't even remember who he is.
Yeah, no flashback scenes for him.
None. It's always funny to me when you watch a show and you're like, I wonder who's going to live and die. And then you get like 4 or 5 episodes in and you're like, well, that character, we haven't seen any like back history on. That guy's probly going to die before the end of the season.
Yeah.
Don't know anything about where he came from.
It's true. We really didn't get anything on him.
Yeah. But you get everything on everyone else. It's like, okay, well then they're probably going to stick around in some
I felt connected to him somehow, oddly. Like he almost seemed like
he was just
the
around.
same kind of archetype as the as the deaf guy from Fargo.
Yeah.
Like he seemed like that kind of
Like he was
thing.
gonna
Like
have
he was
like,
going to make
like
a
medium,
difference.
a medium-sized role in the season, and then come
well,
back.
he did obviously. He like he like kind of, I don't know. He just died.
Get shot in the head.
There was some drama there. Like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Bullets going slowly through your face.
Well, then they're going to pull in the multiple realities at some point, which they seem to kind of at the very, 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 very end of this, in the tent with Sid and David, which we'll talk about later. But it would be funny if they pulled in the multiple realities and that character just shows back up again, and he's from like one of the other versions of what happened.
Oh yeah, right. That's true.
That'd be cool, and it's not beyond the show.
Yeah, not at all. That would almost be like a fucking Fargo thing too.
Like a
how
little
they
twist
bring,
in.
how they bring him back in the third season.
Exactly.
Yeah.
On the bus.
So Ptonomy is speaking to David through the Vermilion and telling him like, I don't have a lot of time. I know where Farouk's body is, and like trying so hard to get it out, and eventually gets it out and says like a French word that I couldn't exactly get.
It was
immediately. It was le désolé.
J'ai désolé.
Yeah.
Soleil. J'ai désolé. Which I thought soleil meant sun, but Jordan said she looked it up and it meant I'm sorry. But then it was like the origin for the word desolate.
Yeah.
Désolé. And I was like, I'm just going to type that in right now. She might have spelled it wrong.
Like land of the sun or like the desert. I would think obviously it would be something to do with the desert. He's like, yo, that's where it is, because obviously that's where David goes.
Yeah, and it's a desert that like changes, and like it's desolate, and it's obviously in the sun, and then it's unnavigable. Unnavigable?
Yeah.
Unnavigable?
Unnavigationable.
So it's like almost impossible to look up the word désolé meaning, because only
Cirque
thing you
du
get
Soleil.
is Cirque du Soleil, and you're like, I don't want the Cirque du Soleil. I want the J'ai des Soleil.
Yeah.
I took 2 years of French. I can't remember a goddamn thing about it.
Well, J is I, isn't it? I don't think
J'ai is I. J'ai is I. Du and des are usually like connector words from my understanding, but I think they can serve as other words in context.
Le désolé. I don't know if it was J, honestly. I really don't think it was. But doesn't matter.
Well, the sentence J'ai vu du soleil means I want the sun.
It's definitely sun, okay? I think we can agree on that.
Yeah.
And we can assume that his fucking body's in the desert because it is.
I'll look it up after this, but I'll bet money that it was land of the sun.
Yeah, something.
And like the
something
first
similar
word
to
that we missed is like the word for land or something like that.
Yeah, something along those lines.
That's what I'm thinking. But it's going to be crazy if Jordan's right and it just means I'm sorry. And it's the land of I'm sorry. Man,
I really don't think so.
so.
Really don't think so.
Unless it plays into something with fucking Sid and David. But like, I think that they got their own thing figured out by the end of this.
Yeah. So then we cut to the desert. Oliver driving.
Yep.
Through the desert, and him and Farouk get to this like old folks home, which is also fucking like in French. I'm pretty sure as well.
I think
the
so.
sign.
Yeah.
For the old folks home.
I mean, he speaks French the whole time. I think honestly, this is what's weird. It's like I've watched so much foreign shit that now I don't even register when people go out of English and into subtitles. Like I don't remember if the old lady was speaking English or French.
I think. Yeah, I can't remember. And
it doesn't matter. It didn't matter.
Well,
to me in
like
the
also
moment.
Farouk speaks so much in both.
He goes back and forth.
That like I feel like when he may have been doing that with her, and she may have been doing that with him, or she picked one. I don't fucking remember. It doesn't matter.
I remember what she said. I just don't remember.
Yeah,
how
she
said
was.
it.
It was the old. I mean, was it the same old lady? That's what I'm assuming. The old lady that was reading.
I don't think it was.
You don't think it was?
I think they were different old women.
Okay.
I think that I honestly, I don't know if we've seen the woman that Farouk went to go see in this episode.
Okay.
I think if we have, it's been in really quick flashes, and I don't think it was the same woman from the Vermilion, because she looked a little different. She had curlier hair and wider eyes, and honestly, she wasn't quite. I don't think she was actually quite as old as the woman inside Vermilion, inside the mainframe.
Well, that's something that obviously time plays a role in, that is hard to pinpoint in this show.
I mean, the actress. I don't think the actress is quite as old. I think because the way that they showed the woman Farouk went to go see, they show her in a flashback really fast, and she looks, I wouldn't say like 20 something, but she looks a lot younger, like someone who's in their late 40s or the early 50s. And then when it cuts to him talking to her in the retirement home or whatever, I think she was in makeup, and that she was like a younger person in makeup to be like an old woman, whereas the person inside Vermilion, I think, might actually just be an old person.
But they may have just tried to make her look older. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
You only see them for so short.
She hasn't played a role in which we know why the fuck she's there, so it doesn't
exactly
either character, if they're two different characters.
Exactly, but I think that the way Farouk left her in this episode, I don't even know if she'll ever come back.
Yeah,
it felt to me like a very small one-off character, whereas with Vermilion, I think that character is gonna have some kind of significance and show up again later on.
Well, also it just might be inside of Vermilion's memory
exactly.
as well. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't understand exactly what was going on with that. But she was talking about his past, and she mentioned in that scene, like, is the professor here?
Yeah.
And he was like, no, he's not here. And you're just like, the professor.
That's Professor X.
That's Professor X.
It's the closest they've gotten to referencing him.
Well, in this season, they straight up reference him.
They call
all
him
the
Xavier.
way.
They like.
I don't know.
They just refer to him as his father.
I guess so, but they show him like being bald and like doing mind power shit on the chalkboard.
Yeah. They like directly imply it's
he's
him.
Bald, and that's good enough.
Yeah. They directly imply it's Xavier through the visualization, but I don't.
But I guess we haven't directly been like professor.
They've never referred to, because it's always just been David's father.
Yeah,
they've never referred to him as the professor.
Yeah, that's very true. God, if we fucking get
Xavier in this, I'm telling you, man, Patrick Stewart fucking shows up. I mean, he's aware of the show and said he'd be in it.
Yeah,
before they
I don't
filmed
see
this.
why he wouldn't be, honestly.
Yeah. Like, I'm really hoping he pops in at some point. If he doesn't this season, maybe he will in season 3 if they get around to that.
I don't know. It's very strange. It's very strange to bring him into it as well after what happened with Logan. Like, it is strange, but he wanted to do it. It's more. It's better. It's better not to bring Hugh Jackman back. Obviously,
yeah.
Like, everyone wants to see Patrick Stewart come back as Professor X.
Right.
He's fucking awesome.
Well, and if Professor X is going to come back in a movie, Patrick Stewart's going to do this again, or in the role, not in the movie, but in the role. This is the show to do it in.
That's true.
Because this is a show that's supposed that it made the supposition that there's multiple versions of reality.
Exactly.
And so, I mean, there's so many different ways they could just like explain away.
Yeah. And also it being a TV show that's pretty much unconnected to
so far almost entirely, with excluding a few minor references to the X-Men and the fact that they're mutants.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it exists in that,
Yeah.
For
Well,
sure,
other than the fact that these people are mutants, though, there's no major indication that you're watching anything connected to X-Men.
Yeah, that's true. It's very true. So the old lady, I guess she knows where his body is as well.
It seemed to me like she was with the group that hid him.
Mm-hmm. And he's trying to get it, and she's like, I'll tell you if you let me do like the endless dream.
Will you give me the endless dream?
Yeah. And he's like, all right.
Which I love that idea, because we've seen how powerful Farouk can be. And even in the first season, there's like 2.5 episodes where he takes all of the characters out of one room, places them inside a mental facility, inside all of their own minds as a collective delusion, keeps them there for weeks, which in real life plays out to be a matter of nanoseconds, like not even a second, and then takes them further in that reality into another one. So obviously he's capable of like putting someone in a place where like time just stands still out in almost still in the real world.
Yeah. And she's just a fucking shell of a woman.
Yeah, on the outside.
Nodding out. And then on the inside, she's in a car wash having a good time, dressed up like fucking Jack Torrance.
Oh, we don't know where she went. I mean, I honestly, I like Farouk enough, not that he's given me any reason to, other than like the actor they hired and the lines they give him are fantastic, but I like him enough to think that he would have given her like a nice paradise to like hang out in for that long. Yeah. There seemed to me to be like a respect or a history there. But we said the same thing about the way he talked to David earlier in this season, and he totally just fucking killed his sister, or like blended her with Aubrey Plaza. So maybe he's not so true to his word.
Yeah, he definitely uses motherfuckers for how he wants. Even if he did that to someone, he could always come back and, be like, well, I gave you enough time.
You've had 2,000 years, and at least from what you've thought.
Yeah, now I need something from you, kind of that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it's like keeping people in a prison, though.
And you just be like, how about 2,000 more years? Snap. Okay, now you ready?
Yeah, now you ready? You ready? That's like that Black Mirror episode where they
John Hamm,
which is funny. Yeah.
So after that, David is in his chamber, kind of trying to figure out a plan, I guess, and he's talking to himself, which seems like perhaps he's talking about like using a certain person or something like that. It almost seems like he's talking about using I thought, I was like, is he talking like to multiple realities of himself and like, should we use this person, should we use this person, just because I wanted that from it. I don't think that's actually what was going on. I think it was him talking about the people that are in his life as like pawns almost, which would make sense because it then transitions to him like strategizing in like a war room type situation, like with everyone.
Yeah. With using them as like game pieces, little flags.
Yeah.
And like placing them where he wants to. And then like it flashes clips once he places them there of those actual people showing up in those locations, or whatever the location is. And then it's like he's playing a game. Mm-hmm. It's like he's building a strategy in a game situation, in like a game setting.
Yeah. He's trying to figure out where everyone should go and everything, and then he's planting those situations in everyone's minds as well. He's just like flashing them into his mind.
The way he does that is really cool. I wasn't expecting that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that further reinforces the whole thing with like David not truly looking at anyone else outside of himself as like really being there.
Yeah. Well, he's manipulating people.
Well, yeah,
sure.
And he's treating them like they don't matter, like they're just little pieces on a board that he can move around and place where he wants. I don't know. They're like, now that I'm thinking about it more and more, I think that John Hamm's, at least in this specific episode, his whole lesson, the quote unquote lesson, is directly referring to how David is treating people and behaving.
Yeah, I think so as well. Yeah, I didn't think that till we started this podcast.
Same. I didn't have this thought until I was speaking the words.
Yeah, and I think that's right on, for sure. He's totally doing it. And Sid finds the note where he's like, "I'm going to kill the monster," and Sid's like, "Motherfucker!" Like,
I mean, he wrote more than just "I'm going to kill the monster."
She said, or whatever, like going to kill the monster. Or no, literally there was a voiceover of David.
I'm making a joke because when she lands and she's like, "What the fuck?" essentially, and she's like, he's like, "Well, I left you a note." She goes, "I'm going to kill the monster," and he goes, "Well, I'm pretty sure I wrote more than that. I know I said I love you," and she's like, "Fuck you," you know. Sorry, I was making a stupid joke.
I just didn't even. I didn't realize that happened. so I didn't get it.
I want to say that when she goes after him and fucking parachutes down.
Oh yeah,
The way they shot it too was bad.
It was fucking
ass.
awesome.
Yeah. And she just lands and doesn't miss a goddamn beat. She's wearing all black with those fucking gloves and just marches up straight towards him, like determined, like, what are you doing, you fucking idiot? And I was like,
well, it's great that she has that compass as well that just brings her like right to
straight to him.
Yeah.
I love her and I love that actress. I
love her so much.
I want more with her.
Yeah, I want alone time.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah.
We'll talk about that on another podcast.
I meant more entertainment that she's in, that she's starring in. I want that woman to have work for the rest of her career.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely more from Noah Hawley. Maybe she'll be in the Doctor Doom movie. If that's still going to be a thing.
Is he like supposed to be doing that?
He's supposed to be writing he said like last Comic-Con or something, when they were releasing all the Avengers stuff, he was like, he wanted to write a Doom movie. Like where it was just about Doctor Doom.
Was it? I remember reading about that. I think he was saying he wanted to do the storyline where Doom actually defeats the Fantastic Four and takes over the world, and then like cures all of its problems.
No, I didn't read that.
I think that there's a plot line where Doctor Doom, if Doctor Doom wins, when Doctor Doom wins, and I think the one plot line where he like actually like dominates and defeats the Fantastic Four, he ends up just making the world a paradise, and it's like full utopia, and people live for like thousands of years, and he truly like made the world a better place, and then he gets fucking bored with it, and he's like, God damn it, I needed to be the villain, I didn't actually need to be the hero. And then he has to like go on an adventure essentially to like go back in time and erase his actions, and like stop the world from being saved.
Honestly, a movie like that
by Noah Hawley, I would believe that he could do it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the thing is that he did this before that Fox Disney deal, I think, was even like
on the table,
at least publicly, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't know, how much insight he had into that, being the person that he is with all, but I mean, even so, I can still see Marvel Studios picking Noah Hawley to be a director of one of their films.
Or one of the X-Men movies, now that Bryan Singer is gonna have a tough career.
Well, like, but if he wants to write Doom, and he just writes Doom anyway, he's
already got a script or something. Yeah. Or he's just like, I'm going to do it.
Yeah,
you guys.
But I think it would be probably formatted as a Fantastic Four film. If it was to be under Marvel Studios, because it's truly not going to. It's surely not going to be coming out before like 2020.
Well, it is coming out before 2020, and don't call me Shirley.
I don't think so. And that's when like everything's supposed to be solid as fuck. Yeah, with the deal, they can literally use
whenever they want
all the characters except for the Spider-Verse, which they already have.
Well, Sony
owns of it.
They own some. Well,
they have Spider-Man,
some of it, but Sony has Spider-Man. Yeah, Sony holds those rights. They're lending.
So bummed.
In. Yeah, well, at least they fucking made the deal to lend in.
It's true,
and like
and they're doing
Spider-Man
good shit
movies and stuff. Yeah,
and we found out that Jake Gyllenhaal is going to be Mysterio,
which I've been waiting for Mysterio to be portrayed in a fucking movie since I played the original Spider-Man PS1 game.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Mysterio's
Nintendo 64. I played the same game, bro.
Yeah, I played on N64 and PlayStation 1. I had both versions.
And my compact.
Yeah. And I had all the cheat codes, and I had all the fucking Spidey suits, and they had all those crazy fucking Spidey suits you could wear.
And you're like running away from like Carnage, Doc Ock, fucking symbiote at the end, crazy shit.
Carnage, his whole like sequence in that game is fucking awesome. And then Daredevil's in that game, and there's that whole mission.
Black Cat.
And
like, you're just a little fucking 12-year-old boy with a little boner, just looking at Black Cat's fucking 8-bit tits.
Fucking Black Cat.
I don't know, like 64-bit tits, I guess.
64-bit tits. I mean, they were better than fucking Lara Croft's original games. And
Lara
Croft's. which is I love watching or looking at pictures of
What do you like looking at pictures of?
realistic or realistic cosplays of the like original Lara Croft games, where people make suits with like the pointy, like all the pointed, jagged.
I've
like,
never seen
angles.
that.
Dude, they're so funny. There's
That's
some
awesome.
really good ones where people wear suits and make them look like those like pixelated, like
That's funny
pointed
as
tits
shit.
and like
Oh my God, I've never seen that.
they're funny.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, they're pretty great. they get popped up on Reddit every like month or two.
Okay, so before Sid goes to the desert, she talks to the interrogator, and they have, you know, a bit of whiskey.
Yeah, okay.
And she's talking about how David lies to her, and like she doesn't think that David knows the difference between right and wrong, and like maybe he doesn't even know when he's lying, but she thinks that he's lying
all the time.
all the
And
time.
he's in ways that none of them like can even know.
Yeah.
And she doesn't trust him. That's what she says. But despite all of that, she still loves him.
Yeah, and he's like asking her, he's like, "Do you trust him?" And she's like, "Off the record." He's like, "Off the record." It's like just girl talk. I love that he says that.
Yeah, it's just us girls here. Yeah, I love.
He's so great,
dude. He was like, and the way he was, like everything he said to her, every response he gave to her was a passive or a subtle undermine of David's authority.
Yeah,
You know, like he was constantly reminding her in that conversation how quickly David could destroy the world, and how
please don't hurt his feelings.
But yeah, he literally made that comment. I'd have to like go back and pull out this, like watch the scene again to point out the specific dialogue. But for like a lot of that conversation, everything he said had this edge to it, which was like reminding her like, yeah, by the way, that's not always a good thing. That's not always a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't, you shouldn't have to deal with that shit.
Yeah, and
Kinda.
she mentions the fact that he's not focused on the right part, and like for the world to be saved, that their love has to be saved.
Yeah, it has.
And he's kind of going the opposite direction away from that, like how she knows that he has been kind of ignoring herself in the future as well.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think she understands that for David to save the world, and the only way to save the world is to save David, because he's the one who I believe ends up destroying the world, is for him to be like to fight for love. Mm-hmm. And so it's coming down to his decision to not fight for love, but to fight for his own selfish like emotions, which is what we've already said is the theme of this, is his like inability to view other people as being actually real, and he's the only one who's actually real. Mm-hmm. And he treats everyone else around him like the girl on the phone who is mean to someone over social media, because that's just the shadow on the wall. I'm the only thing that's actually, I'm the world, and everything else is just I can do whatever I want to it. So I think everything we've seen this season has led David to feel like he's like a godlike figure, and he reacts only to his own selfish, like emotional desire.
Yeah, he doesn't see the whole picture.
And Sid is saying the only way that he can save the world and not like actually destroy the world is if he starts to treat me and love and everyone else as if it's we're part of the world. And
yeah.
like he realizes, like he becomes empathetic and more, and like I don't know, I really think that like Sid in this is like summarizing exactly what has to happen for David to not go down the wrong path.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I think you're 100% right.
And I'm interested to see where the show's gonna go, because I don't typically in a normal fucking drama I'd go, he's going to go down the wrong path, because that's what the drama is, and the conflict is going to be that someone's here challenging him to make a better decision, and then the drama comes in between that. But I don't know how this show's going to play out. Like I don't know if he's going to make the right choice at the end and actually fight for love and realize that like what he's doing is selfish and he needs
I
to
would
make
think
the right
that
choice
would
for
be
Sid.
that would be the conventional way to end the show.
Well, I think if you do that, or you have him completely break and become evil, or like kill Farouk and make a selfish decision, and really just like hone in on that, like that aspect of the theme that we have discovered in this episode, like about David's character, that both of those are conventional ways to end the show. And
I really don't think it's going to be either one.
Anything
I think it's going to be.
conventional, yeah.
I think it's going to be more along the lines of popping up in a red room with insanity and killing insanity. Like it's going to be something so fucking crazy that we didn't think about.
Yeah,
that's just in there. You're just like,
gonna be-
oh my God, this is incredible.
It's going to take those Twin Peaks level turns. Where you're like, oh, well, never mind. Yeah,
Yeah.
It builds the expectation of certain things, and then just like takes a hard right and then a hard left really fast, and they're
Yeah.
like, never mind, nothing.
And it goes straight up.
Yeah, and then they just fly into space.
But okay, during this whole conversation with Sid and the interrogator, it zooms out with honestly fucking awesome camera work, and you see Melanie is listening to this whole conversation.
That was great.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what's going on with Melanie, but from this episode, I'm not sure what. Last episode, when he was plucking out insanity of everyone's heads, did he take it out of her head as well? Was she in the room?
She, I'm gonna have to go rewatch.
I would have
that.
to rewatch it.
But I honestly, if my memory serves correct, she came in and was unaffected or seemingly unaffected, and helped David. Was like, they're like, what's going, like, they're not in their right minds or something. Like, if I remember correctly, she was like the only one who seemed like rational besides David.
Which might be a part of it as well.
Yeah, because we were saying earlier in that first episode, earlier on other episodes of the show, that first episode when she does the drugs and then we see that fucking crazy monster thing walking past her.
Yeah.
That's like another, like that was like a grown version of the delusion that he's now killed some of that. But like, I don't think that if he didn't pull it out of Melanie's head in that episode, then and that's still possibly a delusion. It could be something where she's affected by a completely different kind of delusion, and it's grown so much out of control that she's able to, like, hide it from even David.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which I'm interested to go back and watch that scene, because I think that that might actually reveal a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially how they end this episode.
Yeah, for sure. So after that, David is voiceovering on your mark, get set, go, and that's when he's kind of releasing his pawns. At least Lenny, he like straight up opens the door for her with his mind from the desert, lets her go.
The scene where he puts the thought inside Lenny's head, was wonderful.
It was so fucking awesome. She's like holding a gun in the desert.
Yeah. Well, and then just the whole conversation they have in the bedroom, and she's like, am I really here? If I wake up and I'm just back in there, and like I can't handle that. And he's like, no, babe,
you're really here,
sweetheart, like, darling, you're here.
Kisses her on the forehead, and then
he's starting to treat her like it's his sister.
Yeah.
And it's his friend, and like, I don't know. He's obviously feels conflict for her character.
Yeah, but then plants something in her mind to obviously his own benefit.
Yeah.
Maybe the benefit of the world.
Maybe not.
Probably just him right now. His plan.
Yeah.
And is like disappears outside of the room, which fucking really puts a damper on her mind.
Yeah, she just goes, no.
She's just like, what the fuck? You just told me this was real, and now you fucking disappearing on me.
She just disappears, and I think the sound design, like, really quietly, you hear it just go, like, oh no, or something like that, like something along those lines of her just like expressing this like
sigh,
of like sadness and like confusion, which is because immediately following that, Carey, the clown, because I guess he's a clown in real life, and Hamish Linklater walking down the hallway, and David like does the snap in front of them and plants those thoughts, and then disappears and does the same thing he just did inside Aubrey Plaza's cell. And then they both are just like they seem confused, and then they're like, we don't know what even just happened. And it seemed like they didn't even remember that David was standing in front of them, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Like he just like wiped those moments from their brain or something. So I don't know what the fuck is gonna like happen with Sid, or not with Sid, with Aubrey Plaza in the next episode. But I really think that Hamish Linklater and Carrie are going to play like into David's plans, and I think Aubrey Plaza probably won't.
Yeah, well, from the glimpse of the next episode, Aubrey Plaza looked like she's already kind of crazy. So like her seeing something in her mind, like Inception, like, might not do much.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And and it's not just Aubrey Plaza. It's not just Lenny. It is. I truly believe that Katie Aselton's character that
they even show her like it's a split personality. How what the percentages are on that, I'm not sure.
Yeah, exactly. But obviously Lenny is the outward appearance, and Aselton's eyes are like what her eyes look like now. Yeah. But it seems to me that like at least internally they can communicate with each other.
For sure.
Or they're going to start communicating with each other.
Yeah. It's probably going to be Amy trying to whip Lenny into shape while she's doing drugs and shit like that.
And being a fucking terrible. And now Katie Aselton is going to be stuck inside the mind of someone who's actually mentally ill and addicted. And she's going to come to understand like how she fucked up treating David.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. There will probably be like an aspect of that.
Dramatic moment from that.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a moment where she like comes to terms with the fact that she never understood like what was wrong with her brother and didn't know how to handle it and didn't try to truly handle it correctly.
Well, also Farouk talking about it in the last episode when they're at the dinner table and he's talking about like, you know, Amy didn't help you and shit. What if that actually comes through to David and he thinks that? You know, he comes to think that, and then almost her understanding through Lenny is like a saving grace.
Yeah,
you know,
it like redeems her in some kind of strange way.
Yeah.
I mean, I could almost even see like she comes to find understanding of like her own like foils or like bad decisions over time, and then Lenny showing up to date like with David at like a crucial moment, and him having a realization that Katie Aselton's reaching out to him and being like, Farouk was right, and like I fucked up, and like don't do what you're about to do or something like that. Like I could honestly see something in that realm coming to pass. Because and like not necessarily Katie Aselton or his sister ever being removed from Lenny, but him coming to terms with the fact that it's like two people in one, and it's like the Carries, but they can't, you know, extract themselves from each other. Yeah. And then it becomes this whole different kind of character.
And Lenny isn't the best communicator on the outside for the person on the inside.
She's like a little crazy and like, And so then the internal personality is like the one who should be communicating with people, and the outward personality should probably just stay inside, but they've like reversed roles. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. But okay, so do you remember that flash when it's like right before we're like kind of seeing Oliver and Farouk in the desert again. We see the flash inside the temple of the tree, and just one leaf falls off. Yeah. And then it flashes to like the coffin.
I do remember that.
And I'm like wondering if that also signifies like the beginning of the end kind of thing, you know, the shedding
like
of the tree. Like I wonder if that's gonna,
it's like the coming of autumn, like the leaves are beginning to fall, the end is coming kind of thing. Yeah.
I mean, obviously the end is coming, so but
the end of the season,
yeah, for sure. But I thought that was interesting, and it just excited me, honestly. I was yes.
Every little detail of this show honestly excites me, and I'm constantly surprised. So, It's a fucking plus.
So Farouk and Oliver are talking about the desert, and it's like fucking crazy. There's like mirages, and then they're disappearing. Like he's like saying, you know, like the time is changing. This whole place was set under, you know, some sort of. It's not like a, you know, a curse or anything, but kind of for him in that way that like it's changing so that he can't get to his body.
He implied that it's like magical in some way, and that like his body was placed there, and they're like, and then the footage, the clips that they show while he's saying this,
Fucking crazy.
Yeah. Well, and they make me think that there are like, I mean, obviously there are people actively working for him not to get his body, but that there are people actively like managing this trip desert, essentially. This maze desert,
like at an amusement park. They're putting like, together,
and they're doing it to constantly keep Farouk's body from being found by Farouk or really anybody else. And like the way they depict that with like the people pulling the ground together, like it's a puzzle.
Like it's like fucking tectonic plates pulling them back together.
Like I don't know. I mean, they're treating it like it. Yeah, it was incredible.
Yeah,
and then like as they do
cool.
that, the like aspects of the horizon and buildings and like the temple where Farouk's body is being kept, like it like dematerializes and then materializes somewhere else.
Well, so he's talking about how David has to find the secret if he wants to make it through the desert.
Like, there's like
so I didn't even think about this till now, but when him and Sid are going in the tent and they find their bodies and it rewinds and they find their bodies again, they're like, that's us, like kind of thing. That could be a trick of the desert keeping him from Farouk's body as well.
I think so as well.
You know?
Yeah.
I didn't think
about that either. Yeah.
But that could be something else completely, for sure.
I don't know what that was. It threw me off. I liked it, but I was very thrown off by it, because like
sure.
I mean, no one ever expects like for a scene to play out and then there to be this really quick.
I was already confused that their skeletons were there, and then for it to rewind and play again. Well, not rewind. We get a rewind later, but it to just play again.
Well, it's like
them walking in.
They hear. They go, oh my God, what happened to us? That's us. That looks like us. And then they hear themselves outside and they both react to the noise. Yeah. And they're like, what was that? And then it cuts and they're gone.
And they're coming in again.
And they're coming in again. And I was like, holy shit.
Yeah. That's super
what
weird.
What the fuck is that supposed to mean? Like,
and then they like bicker a little bit more and she's like, you better have a fucking plan.
Yeah. And then she tells him, which I think is a significant line. She says, will you do me a favor? And he was like, I'll do anything. What is it? And she's like, make the right choice when it comes time. Yeah. Or prove me wrong and make the right choice. Or, you know, something along those lines. I know she says, prove me wrong. And I just like, I mean, I'm holding out for the fact that like she'll come through to David and he'll realize he's being like, a crazy person.
I do want love to win. I also really want some crazy ass dark shit to happen.
I think if love wins or dark or doesn't, dark shit's gonna happen.
Yeah, for sure.
This show is dark and surprising in the best way.
So then we go to the end of the episode, the last scene with the interrogator. And David is saying, like, find the clock. You hear a voiceover of him saying, find the clock, which I don't know what the fuck that means.
Well, it showed that there's a flash earlier on in the episode, when he's planting memories and stuff in people, or when he's planning at least, of inside some, like that monastery or whatever, and it's like open aired, and there's that weird metal thing that's shaped like two bull horns sticking out of the ground.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a reference that was the clock. That's what it is. Like if there's something in there, you know,
something that we just didn't see
exactly
in the shot. And then Melanie like fucking hits him over the head or some shit.
Yeah, with
and then it just straight up rewinds.
She starts to drag him away, and then it rewinds, and the whole time it's rewinding, we periodically get a man's voice going, Melanie.
Yeah, and
I think it's Jermaine Clement. It's
Oh,
Oliver.
really?
That's what I thought. At the very last one, it sounded like him, and I was like,
I couldn't quite place it.
I think it's Jermaine. Going Melanie.
Yeah, well, that would make sense. They have communicated a little bit because she is the one who almost revealed a secret to him about defeating Farouk.
Yeah. And then it's that it goes back in time. It goes into her eyes, and it says Melanie, and then it cuts to a shot of Jermaine Clement in the paddy wagon thing.
Yeah.
With Amal, and then it goes into what happens next, which I am hard pressed to describe. I might let you do that. The actual shot of the show, but it made me think like he rewound. Oliver rewound what she just did and was speaking to her the whole time, or he was speaking to her the whole time and then she went through with it, and the way they present it to you in the show is just like this crazy like reverse effect, but like it still actually happened. I don't know why they would do it that way, but
yeah, I'm not so sure about a lot of things, but
yeah,
but I think it probably did rewind in
like actually rewind.
Actually did in the episode. And then so Farouk is close, he says. It cuts to Farouk saying that he's close.
I'm close to you, my baby.
And you're like going down a hallway and it gets dark. And I was like, oh, is this about to be the fucking end? Like, fuck that. And then you just see like overhead, like we're underneath the fucking demon cow skull crazy fucking thing,
some kind of monster, and it's upside down in the frame.
Yeah,
and
you're just like, oh shit,
and
something like fucking crazy's about to happen right here.
It looks so nuts.
And it's the end credits.
It just cuts to the end.
And you're like, God damn it. I want more.
And from what I can garner from the next stay tuned for next week bit. We're not going to get a ton of plot answers. I feel like there's going to be
well, we'll get what we were talking about with Lenny and Amy for sure. It seems like which will develop,
Yeah, we're going to get a lot. It's going to be another episode that this season seems to have done episode of plot, episode of exploring a different character dynamic or theme or something, and then coming back to the plot, and then going it's like every other
these
episode.
Last two episodes that we got were pure plot.
So now there's 3 episodes left, so I'm willing to bet that the next one is it's obviously going to be introduce things to the plot that are important, but it's going to really just focus on Aubrey Plaza's character and Melanie and Oliver and Jermaine Clement, and we're not gonna see Farouk find his body
progression.
We're not gonna see the progression of where we think it's about to go. And I think that's gonna come into play in the episode following this and the season finale, and those are gonna be 2 really insane focusing on the main plot kind of episodes.
Yeah, for sure.
And the only reason that there's 2 episodes after the next one is because we don't know why. So I would assume that this next episode takes a pause, and then the episode following that is going to be all plot.
Yeah,
because it's the last. It was
crazy.
Intended to be the last episode.
It was intended to be the last episode, which is fucking insane. It just makes me I wonder if they recut.
I'm sure they have. I'm sure they've been cutting and recutting I'm sure Noah Hawley has probably recut things in the season finale and probably in the last couple episodes that we've watched while the show was airing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting. I love it. That was a great episode.
It was fantastic. Well, this episode is it was another somewhat straightforward one, and it really tightened up the themes and the psychology, and different motivations. So now I think I have a better understanding of kind of where David's head is at, where Sid's head is at, where the interrogator's head is at. I mean, we kind of know we literally know where Ptolemy's head is at, like physically. But I mean, obviously he's going to come back into play, but we can kind of see like how his plot played out. So the only like things on the board right now that I'm not like 100% sure on are Melanie and our Aubrey Plaza and the sister. Because everything else seems to be kind of like coming together. Like it, you know, you can kind of see how everything else is going to come together. So I think it is like interesting and like a good decision that they're like obviously going to focus on the two characters that we aren't 100% sure what their situation is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
They're going to develop that aspect of the show a little more to bring it all together.
Yeah.
Everything's brought together and then...
But I'm seeing everything play out again. And this happened in the first season where you're like, what the fuck is happening in this show? And then it gets closer and closer to the end. And then you start going, I think I might see where this is going.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're going to subvert that a little bit, a lot of it probably. But like it is starting to all come together.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a big steaming pile of doo-doo.
Yeah, well, everything seems connected. Even things in the first. I bet if we go rewatch episodes, we're gonna notice shit and be like, "Oh fuck."
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
yeah.
And it'll probably
Which I'm
be
excited to do.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm gonna wait till probably this thing wraps
until it's
up,
all over,
and then
watch it again.
Yeah, we'll do
rewatch value on Legion season 1 is fucking impeccable. So
I know.
I can't wait to rewatch this.
Well, then this is probably the most unique season of television I've ever.
Yeah, for sure. There's so many,
but
so many times where I have that exact thought.
Between this and then just what Twin Peaks was and is, I think those are the only two shows that really are doing anything like unpredictable. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like I mean, it would be hard. It would be difficult to say Legion is doing a better job than Twin Peaks did.
Obviously doesn't have the same following.
Well, different following, but like similar in the way that they take very, very experimental approaches to telling a story, and their stories like don't take place and don't want to take place in any kind of like reality.
Yeah.
They want to exist in this like weird cinematic surreal.
Mm-hmm. There's no time. You know,
it's symbolism and it's metaphor and it's, you know, psychological like examinations and
they don't want you to place it in a box.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this is pretty fucking crazy. Pretty fucking crazy.
It is awesome. Well, all right. That was fucking great. I love that conversation.
It was a really good conversation.
So next week, things are going to be a little weird, a little different.
Sorry, guys.
Chase is going out of town.
That's right.
He's going to Austin, Texas to have a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I'm going to stay in some other places. I'll be in New Orleans for a couple days, you know. Well, you know.
He's doing a gig at the Spotted Cat, so go see him.
Yeah, guys. The Splattered Cat.
And so I am perhaps going to have another guest, and I'm not gonna, you know, go into that too much, but there'll be an episode, so don't worry about it.
We will say that there will be an episode, and I'm sorry I won't be here next week, guys, but Alan will have someone very cool and
someone who's watched the show.
Yeah, and someone who knows what's going on. And I think you're going to be in for a treat. And then after that,
Chase is off the show forever.
Yeah, Alan's going to do this without me, and I'm going to kill myself because I'm sad.
Yeah, so bye. No,
yeah, that's the end. So is the Splattered Cat a real place?
The Spotted Cat.
It's the Spot. I thought you said the Splattered Cat, and I was like, well, that's an unfortunate name for a bar, or you're fucking with me.
I could totally see the Splattered Cat totally being a bar.
Yeah. It just puts an image in my head.
Something in like Cool World. But no, the Spotted Cat is absolutely a jazz bar off like Frenchman Street.
Oh, in New Orleans.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
That's awesome. Maybe I'll check that out while I'm there.
Yeah, go for it.
Maybe I'll do that.
Hey, but all right. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Find us on all the internets and Instagram and Twitter. You can find us at Coming of Age Pod on Instagram
And at Coming of Age Pod _ on Twitter.
and just subscribe and give us some reviews and stuff. And if you like what you're listening to, just help us out a little bit. We love you.
Please tweet us. Please tweet me things. Tweet me movies you want me to watch. Like, fuck, I'm tired of screaming into the void that is Twitter. So please, just tweet us some shit.
Yeah, if you have any recommendations, something you'd like these voices to talk about, then let us know.
Yeah, please. We would love to hear what you think we should watch. I'm going to give them a shout out right now. I don't know how to pronounce their username on YouTube, but they left us a little suggestion on one of our YouTube episodes of Legion for a movie to watch, and I think we're probably going to put it on our list.
Yeah, I think so.
It was a Jim Jarmusch movie, and I'm a fan of his, and I've not actually seen the movie they suggested, and we appreciate things like that, and we appreciate that listener a lot. So if you're listening, I think your name's like Tara or Teru or Tara something, and we like you and we appreciate it. And let us know if you have anything else to contribute or for anything else you want us to see, because we love that.
We do. Thank you so much, guys.
Love you.
Bye bye.
Fuck you.